Please remain standing while the Mayor's chaplain offers prayers.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that might affect the people in our communities. And continue to remind us that all we do here today, all that we accomplish is for the pursuit of truth, for your greater glory, and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you, Father Joe. First of all, I just want to say, nice to see you, Councillor Hull. It's nice to see you back, and I know you have to go shortly, but it is good to see you back in this chamber. And I like the entrance tune, Councillor Peake, on your phone. So thank you very much. And then I think I'd rather have Handel's Entrance of the Queen of Sheba or whatever it is to my walking in future. Thank you. Right, there are no plans for a fire alarm test. If you hear the alarm, please leave the building by the nearest exit. Please ensure mobile phones are switched off or on silent. Restrooms are located on all floors, but please ask a member of staff for details should you require one. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be loaded onto the Council's YouTube channel. Can I please remind all members that whilst we can disagree politically, please remain respectful to each other whilst dealing with Council business. Now, members of the public, members and officers, you're reminded that under the Openness of Local Government Bodies Regulations 2014, the press and public may film, audio record, photograph and use social media whilst the meeting is in progress for Part A items only, and as long as no disruption is caused to the meeting. Anyone filming is asked to focus their attention on elected members rather than other visitors. Now, I know members are aware of the sad news that Jackie Pollock, who was the Council Scrutiny Support Manager in Members' Services, died suddenly and unexpectedly over Christmas. Jackie worked at the Council for over 37 years, firstly in accountancy and for over 30 years in Members' Services, where she had an important role supporting the overview and scrutiny function. Everyone was truly shocked when we heard about Jackie's untimely death. I represented the Council with the Chief Executive, the leader and other members and many colleagues at Jackie's funeral on the 21st of January. Jackie leaves behind two daughters, Tamsin, who works at the Council, and Sasha, who is currently at home from university. Both girls are being incredibly strong and are being supported by their many friends, family members and colleagues. I know that Jackie's death will have a significant impact on the Members' Services team especially. She will, of course, be missed by all who knew her, and I send my love to her girls, family, friends and colleagues at this sad time. Sadly, I have another death to report, and that is Parish Councillor Terry Cryer of Grimsby Parish Council. Terry died earlier this week. He had sat on the Council's Standards Committee as a co-opted member for over 10 years. Terry was always happy to help and devoted much of his time to standards. I'd like to take this opportunity to send my deepest condolences to Terry's wife, family and friends. On a personal note, I am the clerk to Grimsby Parish Council, and Terry will be deeply missed. Can you now all please join me in a minute's silence as a mark of respect to both of our colleagues? Now, I'd like to thank all members and colleagues who attended the service at St George's Church to commemorate Holocaust Memorial Day. I'd also like to thank the Deputy Mayor who deputised for me as I had another engagement. I believe the service was well attended and very moving. Also, the tickets for my Mayor's Ball, which will be held at the Masonic Lodge on Saturday the 18th of April, will soon be on sale, and I hope that many of you can join me for this occasion, and details will follow shortly. I'd also like to inform you that the Guild Committee, which was due to meet on the 19th of March, has had to be moved due to a visit by the Mayor of Recklinghausen and the Proud Preston Awards being held. Following consultation with the Chair, the Guild Committee will now meet on Tuesday the 7th of April at 3 p.m. An agenda will follow in due course. Now, finally, depending on how we progress today, I may adjourn to take a short comfort break, but let's see how we proceed. Item 2 on the agenda is the declarations of interest. Can members indicate if they have any disclosable pecuniary interests or personal and prejudicial interests in the items being discussed on the agenda? I also just want to make members aware that the notice of motion does refer to Unison. So if members wish to declare that they are members of Unison, it will as a personal interest rather than a prejudicial, which is me for a start. I'm a retired member of Unison, but I'm a lifelong member. So mine's a personal interest. Thank you. Is there anybody else? Councillor Whittam.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm a Unison member.
Councillor Close.
Thanks, I'm a Unison member too.
Councillor Sarwar. Councillor Saxena. So, Unison. Right, item 3 is the minutes of meetings of council held on the 10th of December 2025. Are members happy that I sign the minutes as a correct record? Brilliant, thank you, Councillor Crowe. Item 4 is questions from members of the public. However, none have been submitted for this meeting today. Item 5 are questions of Cabinet members, chairs of committees and representatives of outside bodies. Members are entitled to ask a question of any Cabinet member or chair of a committee within their portfolio or terms of reference. And only one supplementary question may be asked, provided it's relevant to the original question. We haven't received any notifications for questions from members appointed to serve on outside bodies. If anyone has any questions to ask on the information items on the agenda, including special urgency decisions, they should do this at this point, as no other opportunity will be given to when we reach those items. On today's agenda, the information items are 13, 14 and 15, and the leader's report is item 13. So if anybody wishes to ask a question on that item, they must do that now. Thank you. And I will make a list. Thank you. Councillor Crowe, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since I unveiled the master criminal with his creator Nick Park whilst the 696th Mayor of Preston, the recent reopening of the Harris Museum and Art Gallery has been a phenomenal success, whether it's down to that or not, I'm not sure, including the highly popular Wallace and Gromit exhibition. Would the leader give an update as to the numbers of people visiting the venue, please?
Thank you very much, Councillor Crowe. This is all your work. The Harris visitor figures from the opening to the end of December have been absolutely phenomenal. We've reached 160,000. So this has surpassed all expectations and seen a real boost over October half term. And we all saw the queues at Christmas as well. So I want to pay tribute also to Councillor Hindle, who's obviously worked passionately on this project with our officers. And the good news is we're working with Nick Park and Ardman to explore the potential for a legacy Wallace and Gromit display to be housed permanently at the Harris, both of which are open to the idea. But we've got to understand this is a decision by this Labour Council to regenerate in this way, and it's been hugely successful. If you look at some of the work being done by the comms team as well, for example, got lots of young people that are really passionate about working in that museum and art gallery. So it's a huge success story for Preston. So thank you very much, Councillor Crowe.
Councillor Henshaw, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question's probably for Matthew, Councillor Brown. It's regarding fly flagging. Would you consider putting together, and I'm sure we're all interested in this, fly flagging is all of the Union Jacks and the St George's flags that are up. Even the most patriotic amongst us must see them dirty, tatty, tired, wrapped around trees. There's nothing patriotic about a flag like that. And then some of us actually see them as being quite threatening and intimidating in a city of sanctuary. Would you consider writing to LCC and asking them if they can take some serious measures? I realise proving who's done them, you've got to have CCTV, but at least make them aware that we're not happy about it. Say even the most patriotic amongst us will not be happy about them looking like that. So would you consider acting, writing to LCC about them? Thank you.
Councillor Henshaw, thank you very much for the question. Yeah, I do actually share many of your views. I do think patriotism needs to be done appropriately. And obviously, I think we need to have a conversation rather than fighting to Councillor Whittam and get the views of many across the chamber on this, because obviously we do display the St George's flag here regularly, and it's obviously in a good condition, and it's over the town hall. And I do understand how, you know, many of the flags are actually at the end of the flagpoles and the damaged and all the rest of it. And is that the best way to express our national pride in this instance? Probably not. So I'm happy to have a conversation with the leader of the county council about that. So I'll get members' views across all parties, and I'll take that forward to Councillor Stephen Atkinson at LCC. Thank you.
Have you got a supplementary, Councillor Henshaw? Okay, thank you. Councillor Whittam, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is to the leader, and I'm hoping the leader might allow the Armed Forces champion to also comment on this. As a proud supporter of our armed forces and consort to the Mayor, one of her chosen charities being the Sandbag Cafe, to support veterans in this city and across the country, I'm sure you'll be appalled, as to all of us in this chamber, about the derogatory comments made by the President of the United States about the conduct of our veterans in Afghanistan. We have close personal friends who are veterans who almost lost their lives in that war, and we can't stand by and hear our armed forces being spoken to in this about in this way, which is both morally and legally incorrect. Thank you.
I will bring Mel in because she is very close to the armed forces community. Obviously, I went to the cafe myself a couple of months back. I mean, we actually agree on this, Stephen. President Trump, some of his comments he's making are completely inappropriate. And I'd even go further that some of the interventions he's pursuing are completely inappropriate as well. You probably won't agree on that. So, again, I think we need to say something about it, because obviously we've lost people in Afghanistan, regardless of the views on the wars. We've lost people from communities in Lancashire, and the families are grieving, and those comments are just totally wrong and inappropriate. And I hope President Trump will reflect, hopefully, on those comments in the future, in future months and years. And I think leaders across the world need to stand up to President Trump as well when he says things like that. We need to have a bit of courage, and all leaders across Europe and beyond need to say that things like that are inappropriate. So again, I'm happy to have a conversation with you about how we do it across party, because I think these things need to be done across party as well. Thank you.
Thanks both. I absolutely echo what you said, and thanks for raising it. I think in Afghanistan, over 450 of our troops lost their lives, but there are also a lot more who are still suffering from the effects of fighting there, some of whom attend the sandbag. And the backlash from that statement, I noticed another statement was issued 2 days later, but you ask any veteran or anybody that works with the armed forces, that second statement did not have an apology. It was very cleverly written to say, we think the UK troops are great, you know, we support what they do, but there was no apology. And that, I think, has been like a double blow. It's very insulting to people that are suffering severe PTSD and mental health issues and just trying to get through the day to then read statements like that. And I think we really do need to send a strong message, and we need to show the support for people that are serving and have served. And I think there is a link to those flags that are hanging from the lampposts. That's not about being patriotic. That's not about supporting our troops. We need to do it properly and absolutely make it clear, because anybody, if you look, just have a look at the second statement, because that's as insulting as the first one. So yeah, I echo your comments. Thank you.
Have you got a supplementary, Councillor Whittam, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, just briefly. Thank you to both the leader and to Councillor Close. Can we please, on this occasion, record in the minutes that we all value our veterans here in Preston and all those who served in whatever conflict. It's important to send this message that we stand as one, we stand strong and we stand as one on this. This transcends political divides. Thank you.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I think the best way to do it, if we can get agreement with all the political leaders, and I know we've got a few more political leaders here, small parties as well, about sending a letter about that, that would be really helpful. So obviously Labour, Lib Dem, Conservative, Reform and obviously Independence. And then I don't know if you send it to the embassy or whoever, or get advice from the Chief Executive, but I would be happy to do something across party if it's all possible. Thank you.
That's fine. And then I think as an exception, we can record that in the minutes today. If we're all, yeah, I can agree. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Thompson, did you want to come in on this one?
Yeah, just on this, I think I'll just like to say, you know, as far as I'm concerned, the Reform are concerned, they're absolutely behind this. I found it very insulting. Donald Trump tends to throw a grenade in and then worry about what's happening afterwards. And he made a mistake with that, a big mistake. It's not right. It's also not right that people are being prosecuted for wars that have gone past, that ex-servicemen being chased for things that have happened in the past as well. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Saxena, please.
Is to the leader. Following the notice of motion passed last year at full council, requesting Lancashire County Council to think again about the operation of bus lanes in the city, can you respond to recent news that LCC will be pressing ahead with new bus gates, including a new Hall Lane?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Saxon. I want to firstly pay tribute to Councillor Sarwar for the work that he's done as a ward councillor in this. I mean, the resident feeling against having new bus gates was pretty significant. I think 95–96%. I mean, we are really strong in terms of supporting public transport, sustainable transport. You know, I'd even go further that we should actually be looking at public ownership of bus services, which is something that, if it's something we can do, we will look to do that, and especially regulation as well. But the reality is the existing bus gates, we've seen people fined 22,000 times in a period of 6 months. It's obviously not working if that many people are getting fined with the bus lanes. The tactics around collection and pursuance through bailiffs and other things is a huge trauma for the people who are being unexpectedly fined. So it's the wrong decision. We need to look at how we can do this differently, support public transport. But obviously we do need to do traffic calming and the rest of it, but this isn't the right way to do it. And obviously residents across Preston are strongly opposed. So it's very wrong that the Reform-led County Council are continuing with this scheme. I think Councillor Sarma, Madam Mayor, might have something to say as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, thank you, Councillor Brown and Saxena for the question. I think my point is very simple, really. I mean, why do a consultation when you point blank refuse to listen to the residents who oppose the scheme wholeheartedly? So I think the question we need to go back to LTC is if any fines generated from the New Hall Lane bus lane, would that go directly back into the communities it's most impacted, which is Fishwick and St Matthews? I think the answer will be no, similar to cutting off the bus lane, but I think we just got to keep the pressure on. I think it's a scheme motivated by greed. I think LCC reform-led LCC, so as an opportunity to make more money as they have done from the Corporation Street bus gate. It's not fair. It's unfair on residents. It's unfair on working class communities, businesses, local residents, commuters, all who use New Hall Lane. So I'm going to continue to keep the pressure on. But again, thanks to Councillor Saxena for the question. I'm pretty sure we've got other members as well who probably agree with the same things. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wood, did you want to come in on this one? Thank you.
Yeah, obviously we've been fighting the corporation bus gate for some time, many concerns, but as it's evolved, one of my concerns has been that many of the people now find they're not just local people, but people using the university, coming into the city to shop, coming to use our central business districts, and obviously when they go through the bus gate and get an unexpected fine, I suspect they don't come back. I suspect it puts them off considerably, and I'm sure it has a big impact on UCLan as well. Parents dropping off students for the first time, never been to our city before, etc. I did do a freedom of information request to Lancashire County Council, asking them if they kept track of the postcodes of people that they were fining, and also asking where the money was being spent, because they have made claims in newspapers and such that they're kind of implying that it's being spent back in the communities where it's from. They replied back after the 29 days to tell me that they do not record any of the destinations of anyone who's fined. They have none of that data, and therefore it was unreasonable for me to ask. And also, all the money that is collected goes into the general transport pot for the whole of Lancashire, and they have no idea where it goes, and therefore it was unreasonable for me to ask. It may be worth us now writing as a council to Lancashire County Council to request that from this point forth, maybe they start to record those figures, and then at least we do get an idea. Is it local residents? Is it university users? Who is suffering from these costs? Who's paying the fines? And if they are paying it, where is that money going? Is it the communities who are being affected, or is it being spent, I don't know, in the Forest of Bowland on a new bit of highway in Clitheroe? You know, who knows where it could be?
Thank you. Councillor Henshaw, you've indicated you want to come in on this as well.
If you don't mind, it's just a thought that popped into my head. I've had a few complaints actually of people that have been not the Corporation Street one, the Fishgate one, that they're actually being caught after 6 o'clock, but they're being issued with a fine saying that they're driving there before 6 o'clock. And I'm just wondering if that could go into the next freedom of information request. How many people are they actually incorrectly fining just because they're either trying it on or computer error or something? It was just a thought. Thanks.
Councillor Potter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is very exciting, you know, because previously last year, the Lib Dems were a lone voice calling for the scrapping of the bus gate because we were the only people that put it in our budget amendment. And I do recall, Matthew, you didn't support it. So hopefully, you know, it's really exciting that you've come on board, Matthew, yet again. And hopefully we will get Labour on side with our fantastic campaign. So, yes, lovely to hear.
Councillor Saxena, do you have a supplementary?
Just a short one, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I think perhaps we would add to what we ask for the county councillors that I know it's a money spinner for them, and that's probably the main reason for it, as Councillor Sauer has said. But I think they all should ask them, please don't do another one.
Thank you. Councillor.
Madam Mayor, I mean, we have been raising concerns for some time. The way we do things, John, is always a glossy advertising brochure. Let's put it that way. So we have been concerned for some time. Ben makes a very good point. The only issue we have is that when we do write to either the leader of LCC or even cabinet members, they have the barefaced cheek not to respond to us. So that puts us in a difficult position. So if we say something as a council, we want you to consider that, and they actually don't respond, we've got to try something else. So I just think, again, you know, we will look what more we can do. And Councillor Starr has written already to the cabinet member straight away on these issues. So we can try again and we'll keep trying. And then if that doesn't work, we'll try something new. Thank you.
think peaceful protests seem to be the in thing at the moment. Councillor Brown. Councillor Councillor Thompson, do you want to come in on this one?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, but I'm going to be up and down a bit here, aren't I? Beg your pardon. But this issue with the bus lanes has been going on. I mean, if it's as big a problem as everybody's saying, I'm quite happy to go to some of my colleagues in county and speak to them and say, can we review this thing at least? Because I've actually, the actual bus lanes for them being there was actually, I believe, it was because the city had requested that they wanted more efficiency with the buses, etc. And that is what the bus lanes are for, to make it more efficient for public transport. So if you change your mind, I'm happy to go to the leadership there and and speak to them, ask them for a review. So I'm quite happy to do that, Matthew. Thank you, Madam.
We'll move on. Councillor Kulbaki, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I just want to acknowledge the work Councillor Solwell has done on this and thank him for it. I think we should all get behind this. But I've got a question for the Deputy Leader, Councillor Rawlinson, and I want to be, acknowledge his very detailed and very thorough update, which is very informative on social media on the 14th of January about Preston buses. And he acknowledged that £3.50 fare, one-way fare is problematic. And I was just wondering if the council had actually started any negotiations or spoken to Preston Bus subsequently about this, because I think it is a problem, and it's something which a lot of people in Sherwood Green and outlying areas away from the town centre have been speaking to councillors about, because if you're particularly people on a low income, it's a huge amount of money.
So I got the impression at the meeting that the £3.50 fare was effectively making a point because they'd been told, I think by LCC, that if they weren't in the £3 scheme, that it doesn't cost £3.50 to take a bus journey. And they say, well, yes, it does actually. So they've come out of the scheme and are charging £3.50 because they feel they are being undercut across, on the £3 cap. And I made the point in the sort of blog I wrote that they are getting at least 4 streams from different places for subsidy. They get it for fuel, and they get money from planning development sometimes, and they get the £3 scheme, and there's the £1 scheme, which is, I didn't know, apparently it's separate. The evening and weekends is separate from the £3 scheme. So they're still in that one. Yeah, if they're getting at least 4 subsidy streams, how on earth can the business not be viable and, not be at least breaking even, you would have thought. I came away from the meeting with some sympathy for them. I know some of my colleagues have no sympathy whatsoever, but I came away with some sympathy because the environment they're operating in is quite difficult. And bus passenger numbers dropped after COVID and have not recovered. They continue to recover. And I made the point that good services, good reliable services, nice buses, regular buses do work. That's been proven in other areas. And you will get more passengers and more money, of course. And they agree with that, and they've invested in infrastructure in the depot and in buses, and they want to continue to do that. And they seem to have no plans to leave Preston at all. In fact, they continue to invest and try to make it sustainable. And, of course, we want municipal buses or co-ops or things like that. We don't think vital infrastructure like that should be in profiteering hands. That's our position. But given the position we're in, we have to make the best of it and talk to them. And I made some points to them that they took away and they are looking at, and we are discussing options here. But there'll be another cost of living package in our budget. We may be able to do something through that in some small area of bus travel. But that'll just take a little bit of time.
Councillor Kelly, did you want to come in on this?
Yeah, just to illustrate, I came up here on the bus. I could have got the number 19, which was £3.50, or wait a minute like I now do and get the number 111 or the 3, which is a stagecoach, but also independent companies that do the 114, 115 charge 220. So this is about getting cash off people. Just interestingly, 6 people on the 19, which is normally full, and over 25 people on a stagecoach. I think customers and residents are starting to wake up to the fact that this isn't about a principle. This is about getting an extra £1.30 for journeys. The only people that were on there were people that had bus passes, which are subsidised.
Councillor Wise, I'll bring you back in a second, Councillor Kulbaki. Councillor
Yeah,
Wise, did you want to come in this? Yeah.
Thank you. The Chief Executive and I were at the event at Volt, and they're really concerned about the level of bus fares for young people, because we don't want the Volt just to be for people who can walk there, or children, young people whose parents have cars and can drive them there. And they were telling me that in Blackburn, they've got an arrangement where a bus once a week goes round for free, picking people up, and they've got a person from their youth zone on it. So it might be one of the things that we might consider with our cost of living package. But I also think we had this discussion that maybe they need to approach the bus company, because, as I say, we want to ensure the Volt is successful but is reachable for any young person in Preston, wherever they live. Thank you.
Councillor Kulbaki.
Councillor Wise has just preempted my supplementary to a certain extent. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Rawson. It's very reassuring that, and keep us updated. Yeah, my thoughts were exactly like Councillor Wise. Actually, I just wonder if it'd be possible to fund some kind of reward scheme for users of the Volt, so they get subsidised. Some token scheme or something like that, so they get subsidised travel to the Volt. But, obviously that would again make it more attractive as well.
Councillor Green, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe my question's for Councillor Afzal. So the result of the successful appeal by Gafford Poultry sets a precedent on what will happen when enforcement action is not taken quickly by this council. The planning inspector, who felt they had no choice as the company had broken rules for over 10 years. Whilst I'm aware we do have 2 new enforcement officers starting at the end of next month, what assurance can the Cabinet Member for Planning give to this council that this will not happen again, and that robust procedures will be put in place to ensure enforcement is pursued quickly for those who flout the rules? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I can't speak on individual cases. I'm not aware of that specific case. However, I could get some more information and send that to you in writing if you wish. I mean, as you said, we are working on the recruitment. That's a process with a full team. Hopefully, we'd like to imagine that the team will be running more efficiently. There's a lot of cases. They're covering the team currently is small. They're covering the whole of Preston, and it's quite a job. So if there are any specific cases that anybody feels that they'd like to highlight, more than welcome to get in touch with me. I can try and find out more information and find out exactly what's going on with it. But yeah, hopefully once the new recruits are in and trained, we will be processing things a lot faster. Thank you.
Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Green?
Yeah, sure, thank you. So we should have, I think, 3 enforcement officers then. Do we think that's enough, or are we intending to expand the team a little further? Because, like you said, I know there's a hell of a lot of enforcement issues. I feel like I'm bringing half of them myself sometimes. So yeah, do we think 3 is enough, or are we going to keep on pushing to expand the team? Thank you.
I'd like to think we'd like to get the new recruits fully trained and see how we get with that. Yeah, so we can see how we get on. Thank you.
Councillor Peake, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe Councillor Bailey is the appropriate person to answer this. Are there any plans to bring Haslam Park Gatehouse back into use? And if so, what are they?
Thank you very much for your question. At this moment in time, we have actually explored a couple of options with that. I know we have been in talks with a particular charity to see if they could potentially bring that back into use. I know we've had an idea of, like, could we even look at some kind of sporting event, it's like sporting group, like maybe even potentially cricket. At this moment in time, there's nothing concrete in there, but again, we're open to ideas. I think the challenge we've got with that particular asset is the building, no matter what it turns into, is going to take quite a huge amount of money. because the building itself isn't really in the best of conditions. And I guess as well that there are obviously other buildings across the city as well that we have been prioritising just due to the location and obviously maybe the sort of state the building's in. So we are open to ideas. It's probably going to be quite expensive, but there's nothing concrete as of yet. But you know, if you have any ideas, any sort of community groups that want to be interested, then obviously we will welcome that. But at this moment in time, to answer your question directly, there's absolutely nothing sort of concrete right now regarding that asset. Thank you.
Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Payne? No, thank you. Councillor Thompson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question, well, it was to Anna Hindle, so I'll have to ask Matthew, Councillor Brown. I noticed that the museum, Harris Museum, has been made a museum of sanctuary, and there's been some chatter on social media about bringing refugees, etc., into the museum, and people. There is some tensions around people who they don't know where they're from, etc. Can you reassure us all that this will continue to be a safe space for everybody, including the refugees?
The museum will be a safe space for everyone, including refugees. We need to open our hearts and open our minds to refugees, what they're going through. Many of them are people pursuing the likelihood of death or injury, and there's legal protocols about how we take them and the rest of it. So the museum is for all of us. And we've been a city of sanctuary for some time, Stephen. You might not agree with that, but you know, we're a compassionate city. We believe in supporting everyone. And we're proud that we're going ahead with the Museum of Sanctuary because refugees come from all backgrounds and all lives, and we're proud we're doing it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Thompson? Okay, thank you. Councillor Gregg, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is to Councillor Coupland. Back in October, full council passed the first cost of living package. £95,000 was going to the leisure centres for free swimming, things like that. Do you have any figures of the current uptake in that? And is there enough money to see it through until the 31st of March? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I don't have any figures at the moment on hand regarding that matter, but I will get that information to you. I'll go back to officers and obtain that information, come back to you. Thank you.
Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Gregg?
Yes, thank you. Could you also get back to me with the uptake in the new resident card scheme as well, the discount scheme?
I will do. I'll get back to you. Those figures are on hand. Unfortunately, I just don't have them with me, but I will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Landless, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question, I'm not actually sure which cabinet member's in charge of the Pavilion Cafe on Avonham Park. I used to think it was Councillor Rawlinson, but I think it could be Councillor Bailey now. It's quite a simple question. I read with interest in various bits of social media that I get in the morning, like in your area and blog and whatever else, that the Pavilion Cafe is closed to be refurbished, of much excitement. My first question is quite, the purpose of my question is quite simple. Are Preston Council going to continue running it? And if so, is the aim to market it more now it's been newly refurbished and maybe try and run it at a break-even basis? Thank you.
I'm going to have a word with Councillor Iqbal because he's given me a word as original, and I'm just going to struggle to answer a second question with that in my mouth. But, you know, bear with. Yeah, so we do intend to continue to run that cafe. So I know that the past couple of years, obviously, we've put money in the budget to subsidise that, but we have been working really, really hard. I know Mark and Shirley, two of our officers, have been working incredibly hard. And we've worked with consultants as well to try and basically increase our income and reduce our expenditure. We have really done a huge amount of work with that. So we, at this moment in time, from this financial year, we've near enough reduced the deficit, and actually usually near enough on a month-by-month basis, it is making a profit now, that cafe. We've done that through better staff training. We've done that with changing the providers. We're looking at the stock, etc., trying to make it more welcoming to people coming into the park. So actually, at this moment in time, we do intend to keep using that. We do think it's a good community asset. We think it's really good for the park users. We want to, you know, I guess extend that further. That's obviously why it's closed for refurbishment, so we can make it even a better attraction. I also think as well, that's just the start of the process, you know, making sure that we're getting the basics right, which I think we absolutely are doing that now. I think how we make it even better, obviously not just with this refurbishment, we also try and get sort of social events, physical events happening at a park, and you know, that are sort of centered around that cafe, so then we can potentially increase that income as well to that cafe. Thank you.
Have you got a supplementary, Councillor Landless?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a little one. Bearing in mind what you've just said, thank you for your answer. Can you bear in mind whoever's running it and producing these glorious new food counters and everything else, that they bear in mind our fantastic local food producers and specialty food producers, particularly in the northern, rural areas. I don't want to name, I can't, you know, I don't want to advertise, but, you know, if they can use their tremendous cheese suppliers and other people like that. Thank you very much.
Councillor Wise, do you want to? Oh, Councillor Wise on Bailey.
Yeah,
So Councillor Wise, go on.
Just on that, because it sort of social value and stuff comes under my portfolio. There's a officers procurement group throughout Lancashire that actually has been specifically looking at procurement of food, because we are very keen on local produce being purchased by our anchor partners and obviously including by us as well. So they meet on a very regular basis. Okay, just adding that to whatever.
Do you want to come in, Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, I've not really got much to add to what Councillor Wise has said, unless Councillor Landless, do you own I know you own your own bar, don't you? Unless you brew your own beer as well and want to sell it at the cafe, then and you were trying to get a deal with us, then you know. But yeah, look, we'll bear that in mind, and obviously we do want to try and source as many things locally as possible. Thank you.
I haven't got any, Councillor Kelly, I haven't got any more hands up for questions, but I know that Councillor Crowe has a second question, and because we are within time, I will allow you to ask your second question, Councillor Crowe.
I'm deeply grateful, Madam Mayor, thank you. This is to Councillor Desai, I couldn't remember his name then. Here we now have a digital cooperative up and running. Please, can you explain what this is?
Thank you, Councillor Crowe. So early last year, I brought in front of you the digital service trust strategy that incorporated our plans for the next 4 or 5 years. And as part of this, there was a section around digital exclusion and providing free internet access or devices at certain locations in the city. So we have partnered with CNI, which stands for Cooperative Network Infrastructure, who have applied the same model here as they have in other places. So UK SPF funding has been used for the first phase, which involves creating a dark fibre ring around the city. This was completed towards the end of last year, utilising existing BT ducting and then connecting each of the locations that have been identified. So this dark fibre web goes along Newhall Lane, along Blackpool Road, and then back along Gorstang Road. And it's our own fibre optic network that we've pushed through BT's ducting. We have our own equipment, and we will be providing connectivity to service providers that we've identified. So the central connection point for the network is the town hall. It also provides us with the option to connect council sites at a much reduced cost than going with commercial options. So there's a second report that's going to come up that will be progressing this further. CNI are currently running a tender competition to their members to provide these services to our service providers that we've identified. So the Preston Digital Cooperative has been created, and anyone who joins will be able to take advantage of this network. So Onward Homes, for example, has been encouraged to become a member, but I'm sure there'll be many others who could benefit. Having the infrastructure, specifically the fibre ring around the city, gives us a platform to build upon to deliver connectivity where it's most needed. The infrastructure will be a great asset as we go into LGR and puts us in a strong position. I hope that helps, Councillor Crowe. Thank you.
Now you know what it is, Councillor Crowe. Do you have a supplementary?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Grand. Right, we move on. Item 6 is a report on the climate strategy and action plan. Councillor Sarwar, are you moving this report, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is the climate strategy. It sets out the action plan for 2026 to 2030. It follows the climate emergency declaration we made in 2019 and our commitment as a council to work towards net zero by 2030. What this strategy does is just basically pulls together the work that's already been happening and also sets out clear directions moving forward over the next couple of years. It's about how this council reduces its own impact, how we use our role to support residents, how we support communities and partners, anchor boards, etc. So I'll do the same thing. The strategy is built around 5 priorities. The first is decarbonising the council's own estate and operations. If you look through the report, it highlights that most of our emissions come from a number of places like the Town Hall, Guildhall, Harris, Crematorium and our waste fleet. Work has already been done on these buildings on energy audits, solar, the Town Hall. We're looking at cleaner options at the crematorium where equipment is to be replaced and exploring and looking at things like the heat networks in our city centre and renewable energy on council land. The second priority is a shaped by our residents, a just transition through the People's Climate Jury. This is important because we had a number of people around Preston who all came together and talked about climate action and why it's needed in Preston. It had to be fair, it had to be sustainable. So a number of outcomes came out of that around housing, energy efficiency, transport, skills, food. We also had the climate, got the word for it now, but we had a climate plan. We had the 12 points, sorry, 24 points. Our third priority focuses on working with communities. We had the Green Pledge. For those of you who came out to the Lancaster the Encounter Festival last year, you would have seen this huge, I wouldn't call it a chair, but it was more like a sustainable chair. Something we couldn't think of a name for it, so we just called it a chair. But we had residents come along, make all green pledges, and sort of talk about what they want to see in the city centre and how we can improve climate action. Our fourth strategy is working with our anchor organisation that Councillor Wise mentioned earlier, working with our partners. We also have our Preston Climate Jury as well, which our next meeting is coming up next month, I believe. I think this priority is an important one because it shows that this council can't do the work on its own. We do need our anchor organisations, we do need our partners, we do need to work together, and we'll just continue to build on the existing work that's already happening with the NHS, with our education providers, our community groups and councils to scale things up, and working with LCC as well, even though some of them don't recognise that climate action is needed, but that's another story. The fifth priority is around positive action biodiversity. So since 2023, we've had more than 13,000 trees that have been planted alongside works and parks. We had wildflower planting and biodiversity net gain. Again, all of this links into our climate action directly with our nature, our flood prevention and well-being. Just finishing off from the strategy, it sits alongside our local plan and supports our wider direction, where this council is going and what's already been agreed for our city. And what members are being asked today is to approve the strategy in principle. It covers up to 2030, with individual actions coming forward through the usual budget and decision-making processes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sarwar. Is that seconded, please? Councillor Wise, thank you. Yes, you can. You can, if you want to speak now. Yes, of course you can. Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm delighted to second this, a very important document, because lots of us do feel the climate is, you know, the emergency is horrendous, and particularly if you've got children and grandchildren, you know, it's something, you know, I'm at the end of towards the end of my life, so I won't be around when all the issues are, but I'm concerned about what's happening with other people, younger people particularly. I just wanted to particularly draw attention to our social value in procurement policy, because this requires all procurement exercises above £74,999 threshold to allocate 20% of the assessment score to the supplier's commitment to deliver social value. And we've actually got in that a measure about addressing the climate emergency, which is included in all specifications. So I think that is us actually trying to show that we're making sure that we're putting our own house in order, and that when we're commissioning work, we're actually addressing this issue. So I'm pleased to second it and just wanted to draw attention to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I bring in the next speaker, I just want to check there are no amendments because I've not asked that one. So Councillor Duke, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say to Councillor Sarwar, this is a really good report. So thank you very much for the work that you and previously Councillor Henshaw put into it. It's really heartening to see elements of the strategy feeding through to delivery, which you've obviously run through. But I do have a few questions about the things that have maybe been glossed over a little bit. So I've just got 4 questions to put to you, if that's okay. The first one was about the tree planting element. You said that the current funding opportunity runs out in March 2026. So I just wondered, what are you doing about future years? What are the upcoming funds that you're bidding for that? The second point was about staff travel. This came up in ONS a few months ago, but in terms of, we provide Preston City Council staff with free parking, given Councillor Brown's comments earlier about wanting to support sustainable transport, has there any thought been given to, in addition to the free parking, offering people a subsidised bus pass, given how close we are to the bus station here? Because that would be a really easy, quick win in terms of potentially changing people's habits in terms of travel. The third question was about the Preston Green Pledge, and just wondering what the uptake was, and are there any key themes that have come out of it that you think actually we don't have in our strategy that maybe we should be adding to it going forward? And my final point was about the collaborative working element. The Preston City Council does obviously work regularly with partners that are outside of just local authorities. So I just wondered, you mentioned Lancashire County Council, but there's also United Utilities and the Environment Agency regularly work in a partnership through the Making Space for Water partnership, which actively is trying to reduce the impact of floods. So I would just wonder if that could be added to this to promote and support the work being done there, because quite frankly, we're not seeing enough coming through from LCC on that. So as a partnership, we really need to push for further action on surface water flooding. Thank you.
I've got a few speakers, Councillor Sarwar, so I'll bring you back at the end if you wish to comment on the points or questions raised. Councillor Thompson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I was wondering whether to support this or not. But I will support it, but there are reservations that I have. The climate emergency is a rather dramatic title. I think it's not all it's cooked up to be this, because, for example, they're talking about whenever there's a flood somewhere, people go, oh, it's definitely climate change, or whether there's fires on the moors, it's climate change. And in some cases, it's because there's always been floods there in the past, and we've had a bit of a break from having floods. Certainly in Spain, I know there was, was it a year ago, 2 years ago, there was a big flood in Spain. Everyone said, oh, it's climate change. Well, floods had been happening down there in 1900 to the same level, if not worse. So there is this thing, this immediate assumption that anything that happens that is a bit of a natural disaster is blamed on climate change, and I don't particularly think it is. I also thought that the Climate Change Committee was, I met them actually, and I thought they were a really nice bunch of people. They were genuinely wanting to do something about climate change, and I felt as though they were let down by the cabinet member and the team there, because what they were asked for, there was no sort of limit put on them. This is what Preston City Council can do. And they just came up with quite broad brushstrokes. And I think if we focus more on what we could do about climate change and about removing as much as we can our dependency on oil, I think that would be a good thing. I mean, let's face it, if we don't have to keep importing a lot of oil because we do have some ourselves here that we could go for. But climate change people say, oh, well, we can't drill for any more oil. It's a bad idea. But we're importing oil. We're importing solar panels. We're importing windmills as well. So there's an argument here as well. Let's have a look at the re-industrialising some parts. And Preston was a big industrial centre years ago. It still is to a certain extent. So there's things like that. So I will support it, but I do have reservations about climate change. I think one of the biggest problems that we have in the world is not the fact that we're warming the thing up, because it does warm up anyway from time to time. But the biggest problem we have is there's too many people on the planet. So how you deal with that, I'm not even going to go into that. That's for you. That's for you. So anyway, so I will support it, but with reservations. Thank you, Madam.
Breathe, Councillor Potter. It's you next.
Yeah, always a pleasure to come after Councillor Thompson and deal. I think Donald Trump, Nigel Farage's good friend Donald Trump, calls that the weave. You're not quite sure where those arguments are going, but it certainly goes somewhere. I think, again, just Councillor Thompson, when you start to have 1 in 100-year events happening regularly, you have to start thinking whether this is actually emergency. And although Western Europe is not as badly affected as other parts of the world, it all affects us because ripples in Asia or anywhere else all cover across the world. But I'm just going back to this report. So over the last few years, the Lib Dem team here has very much been pushing for greater tree planting. Now, obviously, as Councillor Duke pointed out, and in page 20 and 21 of this report, you do talk about tree planting. And one of the concerns I've always had with this current strategy is tree planting in just certain areas, usually where it's fairly cheap to plant, because you can plant saps and whips very quickly and very cheaply in rural areas, where actually the benefits of greater tree planting in all areas, including urban areas, should not be ignored, because not only do they help with biodiversity, not only do they help with localized flooding, but it also helps with the tolerances of extreme heat we're getting because of climate change. And actually what we can do, even though the cabinet member at LCC for climate and environment doesn't believe in climate science, we can and do have the power through the consent mechanism that we can plant trees on Lancashire County Council land with their permission, including our pavements in urban areas in the city. It is something we pushed for in our previous budget documents. We would very much like you to do it again, because again, nice, leafy, well biodiverse areas shouldn't be restricted to the suburbs and rurals. It should be for all areas of Preston, and I hope that becomes part of this report as well.
Councillor Henshaw, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. And I was hoping to go after Councillor Thompson, but John beat me to it, didn't he? Just to briefly mention Councillor Thompson, I mean, he did say a lot of things, but you declare a state of emergency to make people actually start to listen and not wait until it's too late. That's why you do it. That's just the simple answer to that bit. Okay, going back to the report then. I've got a few page numbers and a few items. I'm obviously incredibly happy to support this report, but there were a few things that I just wanted to, well, queries, comments, really, and questions. Yeah. So page 18, you've got number 3.3.7. I've just put a question mark here about solar panels. Oh yeah, this is the RCVs. This is the bin wagons. I mean, we got new diesel ones and the emissions are better, and I can see that we've got electric bin lifts. Did we look at the idea of getting solar panels to actually make those the bin lifts more better, because that will be handy? We did do a lot of work around this, and I know the idea of mixing hydrogen with diesel as well. We were looking at that maybe when the warranty is up on the new vehicles. Is that something that we can then consider? So it's just a comment for you to have a think about that. And then 3.3.10 on page 19, I wrote hallelujah, because I know how difficult it was to get funding the electric crematorium. So just well done. Fantastic work for the team on that one. Just wanted to say that. Thank you. What else have I got here? Page 20 is 3.3.15. Sorry, I did make a few notes on this. Any news on wind? Any land identified for wind turbines? You don't need as much land for wind turbines as you do for solar panels. I know it's something that we were looking at. I'd like an update on that at some point then, please, if possible. And on page 21, so it's I suppose it's going back to the tree planting, but it's this England Woodland Creation Officer that some councils have taken advantage of. We have the potential for an amazing ancient forest if it was allowed to sort of happen, but it would have to utilise Fishwick Golf Course, which I believe is our land and it's leased from us. And has there been any further developments on that? So that was my other question on that. And then the one that I missed is on page 18 and it's 3.3.8. And it's about the need for a higher threshold for the cost per tonne of carbon abated. We've got a lot of old drafty buildings and we can't be the only council with old drafty buildings. And at the moment, you know, if the amount of the cost per tonne of carbon that gets abated is at a certain level, if we could make that level higher, if we could lobby government to make that level higher, then actually we might be able to invest a bit more in our old buildings. Just say comments, queries for you to take away and hopefully look at. And if you want them in writing, I will at some point, but I just wanted to make those points. But I'm very happy to support this. Thanks.
Councillor Sarwar, I've got nobody else wishing to speak, so if you want to come back on some of the points raised, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. A lot of comments, a lot of questions. I think what everyone can see is that climate change is important to a lot of people in this room. We need to do more. We are doing more. I will take back everyone's queries and come back to you with a thorough response. In fact, I would even like to invite Councillor Duke and Councillor Thompson and Councillor Henshaw to our Preston Climate Jury, which is taking place next month. I think you'd find it very interesting, Councillor Thompson. When you get to hear from all sorts of different people, they'll explain to you why climate action, climate emergency is important. Just on the free on the staff parking, it is free. It does cost nothing. Bus passes would be a direct cost to the taxpayer, but again, that's something I will take back and look into and come back to you with that one. The other thing on the trees as well, you're right. We need to plant more. We should be doing more, especially within the city. But not at the expense of residents where if you go down, for example, Argyle Road, in Fishwick and St Matt's, wherever, and I'm pretty sure in your areas as well, where the trees are planted so close to the residential homes, that is now sort of, we're only to class it as dangerous, but it's unsafe to walk on. So, and yeah, type of tree. There's got to be we need to plant appropriate trees, and I do take that on board. So, but before I do finish off, I just want to give a huge thanks to the officers, give a huge thanks to Councillor Henshaw, who was pivotal to a lot of this work back in 21, 22 and 23. So she started this off, and it's a credit to her really for all the hard work as well. I mean, it hasn't gone unnoticed. This climate strategy shows that this council is serious about climate action, is serious about climate emergency, and I hope all members here today will support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sarwar. Can we now move to vote on this item, please? All those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you. Item 7 is a report on the acceptance of a funded budget increase in 26-27 for the Crisis Resilience Fund. Councillor Kelly, are you moving this report, please?
Yes, I am. This was originally was the Housing Support Fund, so it's got a new name change. And the decision is required from 2.1 to accept the grant of £801,032, which is given by the government to LCC to then passport down to us specifically to support people who are in social needs. which has obviously increased and does increase over the winter months. So that is the decision is to accept that. And I'm happy to take any questions. I'm also happy not to take any questions.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Is that seconded, please? Councillor Brown, thank you for that. Are there any amendments? Does anybody wish to speak on this item? No? So we can go to the vote then. All those in favour, please, show hands. Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you. Item 8 is report on the holiday activity and food programme April 26 to March 29. Councillor Coupland, are you moving this report, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. I am moving this report. Holiday activity food programme. The report is seeking approval for the next 3 years to enter into agreement with Lancashire County Council to accept the funding up to £600,000 per year. The City Council have successfully improved the HAF provision in Preston during 25-26. It's increased the number of providers delivering the HAF in Preston from 11 to 19 providers, with HAF now offering activities such as boxing, forest schools, trampolining, theatre enrichment, increased the number of venues in Preston from 25 to 35 venues. The SEN, the special need, that's been increased from 2 to 4 venues. And booking and attendance in figures in Preston are one of the highest reported in district, Preston being one of them. The bookings have increased to an average of over 95% in summer and winter combined. The attendance has increased into an average of over 70% in summer and winter combined. And the length of the half days, which we've been talking to parents and asking their opinions in terms of the time and the hours that the children can attend the activity programmes, from 4 hours a day to now having to have 4 to 6 8-hour options, removing some of the barriers to families in Preston and allowing that increased accessibility. Hot food offer has been incorporated into the HAF programme, moving away from the previous model of mostly cold. A fantastic programme, the HAF, and it's been a huge success in 25, and we wish to continue. So we're seeking approval to go into the grant agreement with LCC for the next 3 years. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Coupland. I just have to say at Christmas I did go to Westview Leisure Centre and saw the activities taking place, and it was a fantastic experience. So thank you. Is it seconded, please? We've got a second of that. Councillor Sarwar. Thank you. Any amendments on this? No. Does anybody wish to speak? I can see a couple of hands going up. Councillor Ward first. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Obviously, it's a great scheme and clearly I support it. I've just got a couple of questions about participation and involvement. I noted there that you did say that the numbers for winter 2025 were significantly up. On the report that we got given, there was no attendance figures. My question really was sort of fold. Firstly, in spring and summer, there were considerable gaps in the number of people actually taking up these posts, those which were being offered. In the original data for spring, it was only 60% uptake. It did improve a bit in the summer. And although you mentioned 99% there, I think for winter, in winter, the number of places offered was significantly down. So I guess my question really is that, you know, what steps are we doing to make sure this great project that should be there to help as many students as possible, young people, what are we doing to make sure that all those places are filled, that every opportunity is being sought and taken advantage of? And I suppose in the cases where they don't, what reassurances do we have that kind of council money is being well spent and we're getting best value? If there's a project that's only got 15 or 20% uptake, you know, do we have steps to claw back that money and to make sure it's not wasted and used somewhere else instead?
I'll bring in Councillor Jewell first, Councillor Coupland, and then I'll let you answer the questions. Councillor Jewell, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And just to add to Councillor Ward's question there, he took one of my questions in terms of the difference in some of the providers between the spring and subsequent summer and winter numbers. So just to understand what's behind that so we can learn the lessons going into this spring. But also so I'm assuming that the providers identified on here were just those that applied in 2025, and that there will be an open application for different providers and organisations across the city to bid into this fund. If you could clarify that and maybe give some information outside of this meeting to councillors as to how organisations in their patch might apply to this fund. Thank you.
Councillor Coupland, I will bring you back because nobody else has indicated they wish to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not that I remember all the questions, but I'm going to try my best. And the one that yourself asked, Councillor Joel, that's the easy ones that I can ask. One of the really good things about this programme is since it's come over to the City Council is that we are actively looking for new providers all the time. That's why we've got increase of the ones that, you know, what we inherited from Lancashire County Council, and we've increased them. So the officers are all the time going out and working with the communities where they are in particular schools to see that, you know, if they can become providers, but there are criteria to meet. So that is an ongoing work that we are doing in terms of getting new providers on board, and especially looking at, you know, rural areas as well as inner cities, and where there are children that are not, you know, are not able to go into summer programs, and how we can, you know, engage them into those activities. So that's ongoing work. In terms of, you know, children not taking up summer places, that encouragement all the time is that we are working with families that, you know, we would like to really see getting that engagement, understanding the importance of going to holiday activities. And that understanding isn't always, there is a number of issues that families face in terms of complex needs, where the holiday activity programs are, which environment are they in their localities. So that's something that is ongoing, and we're pursuing and trying to push that through. We have increased, as I've already said, the report gives you a clear indication. There is a table at the back that we are actively pushing that, and we've increased that from, as I said, from the how many activity groups, from 11 to 19 providers. So that is actively working in the community to try and get communities to understand the importance that in the summer holidays and Easter holidays, to try and increase that. But I will take that question back to officers and come back to you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Coupland. Can we now vote on this item, please? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you. Item 9 is a report on the homelessness, rough sleeping and domestic abuse grant 26-27, 27-28 and 28-29. Councillor Kelly, will you be moving this report, please?
I will indeed. So this is for the council is required to accept a ring fence grant for 2026-27 at £1,744,914, and then the subsequent year and the year after that, totaling £5,070,000. There's some numbers here, and £8. And this is specifically for working at prevention, because traditionally the previous governments and our current government realise that prevention is important rather than constantly reacting. So it builds into it prevention activities, and to help create pathways for people who are on homelessness. It includes a grant also to domestic abuse services. So once it's broken down, it will be on a 3-year basis. It's a new grant, but it's a culmination of previous grants sort of that are coming together, and it's similar to the previous money that we've received. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Is that seconded? Councillor Wise, do you want to speak now, Councillor Wise? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm really pleased to second this report, and particularly just want to focus on the domestic abuse safer accommodation element of it. Today I went to the official opening of, I don't know whether they're calling it the Women's Centre, but at Norwest Court on Guildhall Street, which combines Hope Prevails, which was formerly PDVS, Lancashire Women and SafeNet, and actually met the sanctuary officer. And I told her, oh, we fund you. She didn't know that. And I think it's really important, the sanctuary scheme, which actually started when I worked for PDVS many, many years ago, because as far as I'm concerned, if you're a victim of domestic abuse, why should you have to leave your home and go into a refuge? I think it's the abuser that should be leaving the home and not the person that actually is being abused. Now, for some people, they've got to go into a refuge because it's the only way they're going to be safe. They might have to move to a different town or city. But I think that's why the sanctuary scheme is so important, because it's about making homes safer so that victims can remain there. And so I think this is really welcome. And generally, in terms of rough sleeping, I think also what the council's doing is really important, because we are recognising that there are more female rough sleepers, and we're trying to ensure that the service we provide actually caters for those as well. So yeah, I'm pleased. I just wish it was more money, but at least we've got this. And I would suggest anybody who doesn't know about what those organisations do and maybe go, it is a women-only space, but they did have men there at the opening today. And as I say, it's a great space for women who are victims of domestic abuse, maybe have been in the criminal justice system and stuff like that. So I think it is a great thing, and I'm delighted that we're supporting the sanctuary scheme. Thank you.
I'll bring you back in a minute, Councillor Kelly. Are there any amendments to this item? Does anybody wish to speak on this item? No. Councillor Kelly, did you want to come back on something? Thank you.
Yeah, just to say that we have a combination of male and female outreach workers specifically to address that. Sometimes the female rough sleepers wish to talk to the women, and that's accommodated. So when they go out at 6 in the morning, 6:30, it's between 6 and 6:30. That's one of the things that they're doing. So it's lovely, because I met one of them the other day, and she said, you know, I'm one of the outreach workers and stuff like that. But yeah, so just wanted to make sure everyone knew.
Thank you. Can we now vote on this item, please? All those in favour, show of hands. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? No, that's unanimously carried. Thank you. Item 10 is a report on pay award for members' allowances scheme 25-26. Councillor Rawlinson, will you be moving this report, please?
We are proposing to accept the recommendation. We request that the panel reconsider the allowances for member champions, possibly after May, as there may be some changes then to the member champions and the numbers. But we accept the recommendation and wish the panel to look at member champions again, please.
Thank you, Councillor Rawlinson. Is that seconded? Councillor Brown, thank you. Are there any amendments to this? No. Does anybody wish to speak on this item? No, nobody wishes to speak. Okay, so can we now vote on this item? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? That was unanimously carried. Thank you. Item 11 is notification of changes to membership of committees. Are there any changes to report? Councillor Brown, do you have any? No. Councillor Potter, no. Councillor Landless, anybody else? No, thank you. Item 12 is a notice of motion on the opposition to the closure of council-run adult care homes in Lancashire. Councillor Brown, will you be moving your motion? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Delighted to move this proposal. So this motion is a direct response to the review that was announced last October, very recently, into the future of residential care homes and day centres by the Reform-led County Council at County Hall. Shortly after the review commenced, the LCC Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care, County Councillor Graham Dalton, was pressed by a North West interviewer about the likelihood of closure of the facilities, and he said publicly that they very well could. So since those words and the consultation begun, there had been a great deal of anxiety from both residents and workers about their futures. The reality is that the majority of residents in LCC facilities are older people requiring residential nursing and specialist dementia care. They also provide services for Lancashire residents with learning disabilities, autism or physical disabilities. The reality is these are vulnerable individuals who need security and stability. They do not need threats and uncertainty. And even the prospect of closure or a change in ownership and management was reported to be putting their health and well-being at risk. And some of the families have said also that closure could even put their lives at risk, because many of these residents have dementia and all the rest of it and need very specialist care. Since then, there's been an announcement by Reform politicians at LCC that care homes will not close, which obviously is welcome. They have, however, remained silent on the future of daycare centres and have not ruled out privatisation or outsourcing of any of the facilities. However, the situation appears to be a complete mess because their own senior officers have put out statements contradicting what Reform politicians have been saying in their U-turn, saying a decision cannot legally be taken until responses to the consultation or considered by the LCC cabinet. And to be honest, I actually do not trust a word that Reform says at County Hall as well. So this is why this campaign is continuing. This motion has been submitted after discussions with North West Unison and other stakeholders, and I want to pay tribute to Unison and the wider trade union movement for the campaign they're mounted to defend workers and residents. This campaign culminated in a march through Preston City Centre on the 17th of January 2026. This march attracted over 500 attendees and has already pressurised the Reform-led administration to consider its position. Many from our Labour group attended, as well as several Labour MPs, alongside county councils and trade unionists, affected families and concerned residents. As leader of Preston's Labour Council, I am clear, sometimes you have to take a side. And every single one of our Labour group are totally behind Unison's campaign to protect these facilities from closure, privatisation or outsourcing. And this will include standing side by side with Unison in their campaign, including supporting any potential industrial action they choose to take. And whilst there are no care facilities directly in the Preston local authority area, loved ones of Preston families will almost certainly be resident in the facilities, and Preston-based workers will be employed there. If we don't take a stand now, and prevent any further closures or privatisation of public assets, which may be at some future date affect Preston by the Reform-led administration. Reform at LCC also need to show whose side they are on. They can either choose to act on behalf of their multi-millionaire donors and their Doge-style task forces, or they can abandon all these proposals tomorrow and provide a future for all these facilities, invest in them and retain them in local public ownership. However, I'm not optimistic, as Nigel Farage and Richard Tice have made it clear they want to reduce government spending from 44% to 35% of GDP, which will be equivalent to a cut in public spending of £275 billion a year. They are also big advocates for outsourcing and privatisation. You can see these values of the councils they are now running. So the main objectives of this motion is clear: that the social care sector is under severe strain and has been for some time. That the strong evidence council and care services are likely to retain more spending within the local economy, support higher employment standards and generate wider social value than privatised or outsourced provisions similar to our Preston model. The LCC must provide safe, high quality care for Lancashire as a priority, and closing facilities risk putting pressure on already overstretched services. Also, that privatisation and outsourcing extracts at least 10% of annual care home revenue that leaks out through rent, dividends, interest and other charges and fees. And some providers actually exceed 20 or even 30% operating margins that operate these facilities. And that the loss of care home jobs replaced by lower paid and less secure private roles will have a knock-on effect on Lancashire's economy, and adult social care must be driven by the needs and voices of residents and not private profits. And that finally we write to Stephen Atkinson stating our opposition to the closure or privatisation of care homes and daycare facilities. And we fully engage with all interested parties and write to Stephen Atkinson at LCC, as well as the Secretary of State lobbying for a sustainable national funding settlement for social care, which is what's needed in the long term, Madam Mayor. And finally, as I stated earlier, the motion does say that we're crystal clear. This council, this Labour Council, will stand firmly behind Unison and the care workers and families in the campaign. We'll support them by whatever means possible, including backing any industrial action their members choose to take to prevent closure or privatisation. As I said, Madam Mayor, sometimes you've got to take a stand. Sometimes these are class-based issues that we know on the side of working class people within Lancashire. If LCC-led administration continue to disrupt the lives of Lancashire residents, they'll face strong opposition from an insurgent Labour movement in our county that we will be on this side of the chamber and stand firmly behind. So thank you, Madam Mayor. I submit this new motion for debate and consideration. Thank you.
Perfectly on time, Councillor Brown. Councillor Varty, are you seconding this notice of motion? And I should just clarify, it's the one with alteration. That's what we're debating at the moment. Thank you. Are you going to speak now, Councillor Varty, or? Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I fully support Councillor Brown in this because I was there on the day, and I do feel that it's something we all should be working together towards supporting this as a council. Thank you.
I've got a couple of speakers. Councillor Bailey, I have you first, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also want to apologise for being late to the chamber. I do need to just declare an interest in this. I'm a member of Unison and also I work for Lancashire County Council and Adult Social Care. I also want to point out as well that in August 2025, so just a couple of months ago, CQC came into Lancashire County Council to Adult Social Care, and they've determined that it requires improvements. So by potentially closing day centres down is absolutely not going to help the residents of Lancashire. And also to point out that for every pound that you spend in adult social care across the country, it says health in terms of the NHS £3. So investing in infrastructure like adult social care is absolutely critical, not just to Lancashire residents, also to health and well-being of our residents, and also as well the NHS in terms of making it as efficient as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bailey. Councillor Duke, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to say that I am in support of this motion entirely. I think the treatment that LCC have and disregard towards a lot of the residents of the care homes and the users of the day centres has been really, really quite cruel, to be honest with you. That uncertainty is really unhelpful. Also, the day centres, if they are being underutilised, then why the heck aren't they investing and promoting and resourcing them better? Because it's not just the initial users, it's the families that require a bit of respite care and to know that their family members are being cared for somewhere safe that's appropriate to their needs. So I'm fully in support of this motion, and thank you for bringing it forward, Councillor Brown.
Councillor Thompson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think one of the things is just listening to some of the language here, saying that people at County Hall disregard our elderly and are cruel. Well, I really don't believe that at all. I know these people and they are not that way at all. I have been, unfortunately enough, to see my parents put in a care home towards the end of their life. They're emotionally vulnerable, they're physically vulnerable, and at no point, as far as I'm concerned, I've spoken to Stephen Atkinson about this, I've spoken to Luke Parker, a number of the others up there. At no point did they say they were going to definitely close care homes down. And this, well, you go and tell them that because they're telling me otherwise. So, and what this has done is put a lot of stress on the people in the care homes and their relatives, I think unnecessarily. It needs an open discussion, and I have assurances that these care homes needed to be looked at because some of the facilities were not up to scratch. It is a perfectly logical thing to have a review of the council estate at some point to see what is needed to improve social care, etc., and other areas in your estate. This was one of those things. The idea that somehow, because Reform are in charge of the county council, in charge of this very sensitive area, because you seem to have this picture that Reform are sort of tyrants who have a disregard for all sorts of people, and that isn't true. Well, it's no good smirking about it. I've put people in an old people's home. I know what it's like. And it is very stressful. So it's stressful for them. It's stressful for the people around them. And I've had assurances there. At no point did they say they were going to close them down. We're going to review them. So there seems to be a disagreement in this. I'm not surprised that the Liberals saying that, because they've got the same story about the schools in North Preston. That's something else that they seem to be wanting to make up as they go along, and not understanding the rules of how you actually get a school. So no, I won't support this, Matthew. I'm sure that you've done it with good intentions, as I think you are someone who thinks about things. But I certainly won't support it, because my information and the questioning that I've done, I come to a different conclusion to you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Henshaw, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say I'm incredibly happy to support this. I think it's outrageous. The threat of closing LCC homes. This is from someone. I've worked in an LCC home many years ago. I can't even remember when it was. And I've worked in private care homes, and I know the difference. And we should have more council-run homes, not less. So I'm very happy to support this. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Henshaw. Councillor Gregg, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Thompson mentions reform, or they do care, but you're playing with people's lives. I worked in a private care home in Millinook quite a while ago, and the cost for a non-private resident is extortionate. It costs the council a lot of money, and that doesn't even cover things like basic washing essentials or anything like that. And thinking about if that was to close and moving people out of their own home, that's terrible as well. So yeah, I fully support this, and yeah, people deserve to remain in their care homes and attend the daycare and not be under threat of being evicted. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gregg. Councillor Rawlinson, please.
Obviously, I support the campaign against the threats to care homes and day centres, but you've got to look at this in the context of what's happening. Reform came to power in a number of councils last year on the premise that they would steam in and find loads of waste in local government and freeze council tax. And all the councils now are going to be raising council tax, possibly by the maximum. LCC are bragging that they're only raising it 3.88%. You know, that 1% that they're not raising it by, that's not going to help anyone at all. But the cuts that they're making to services, that will have a huge impact on people. And they're coming to power on the basis of untruths. You know, after 15 years of cuts, there's no waste in local government. Staffing has halved. They're incredibly efficient and still quite effective in a lot of areas, but obviously suffering from lack of capacity in some areas. And it's that needs addressing. The Labour governments are giving the county council more money than they've had for years, and they still can't make the books balance. They're going to take 200,000 off homelessness, money that they give to district councils. This is a party that bangs on about homeless veterans all the time. They're going to take money off homelessness. Those people will end up at their door, at their services. It's a false economy. This is what's got to be called out, not these individual cuts, but obviously I support the campaign.
Thank you, Councillor Rawlinson. Councillor Sarwar, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to come back on Councillor Thompson's comments. I was at the rally, at the Unison rally. In fact, I was joined by relatives and friends from the care homes who actually asked us to put this motion together. So it's actually come from them, and they've come to us as a Preston Labour group and asked us to push it forward. I'm not sure if you were there, but if you were there, you would have seen and could have spoken to them as well. The other thing I want to mention was it's reform all over again. They don't listen to residents. They don't care about residents. It's similar stuff to the bus lane. I know I'm banging on about it again, but when residents tell you that they don't want something, why do you impose conditions on them? So maybe you could take that back and say, actually listen to what the residents want, actually listen to what the residents in the care homes want, and see what you come back with.
Thank you, Councillor Sarwar. Councillor Close, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of points and then a comment for Councillor Thompson to take away. So this is an area that I know quite a lot about, both personally and professionally. I think it's really important to note, because I absolutely 110% fully support this motion. It's really important to note that almost everybody, if not all of those residents, will be contributing towards the cost of those care homes. I don't think anybody in there will actually be 100% funded by Lancashire County Council. So either the individuals or their family will be paying for that care. And that makes it really confusing for them when you say that they need review, the care homes aren't up to scratch, they're not receiving the right level of care, because they're paying for it. You know, they're paying for it. The other thing is that what I also know is the majority of those people, because I still work in care homes and visit them and support people in them, it's all about Maslow's hierarchy of basic needs. So the first thing that they absolutely need is to know that where they live is not going to change, because many of those residents will have dementia, and what they rely on is knowing the staff that come into their room, what's outside their room, how their family get there, when their family get there, access to it, and they don't want that to change. And my comment for you, Councillor Thompson, is you said you know these people, the Reform County councillors who are making the decision. There have been really, really mixed messages. Yes, they did say absolutely they were going to close them. Then a different person said we are not going to close them, and then that video was taken down because they haven't made a decision on whether they're going to close them. So that's very confusing for families and friends, but I think we need to remember there's very few of those residents will look at social media. If they're not going to be closed, if they're safe, then all that the county council has to do is send them a letter saying, we are aware that there's a lot of misinformation. Please rest assured, we are not moving you. You are safe. We are not closing your care home. That would be the kindest thing to do if actually that's what's going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Close. Councillor Brooks, please.
Oh, thank you. A lot of what I was going to say has already been said, but you know, I think everybody here is generally touched one way or another through relatives or personal experience about people and the relatives and friends being in homes. And it's not just old people. I personally know young people that are in homes for adult services because of severe disability. And to me, I'm obviously fully supporting this motion, but this is political. It can't be anything but political. And it's a political choice between, are you having services that are accessible under public ownership, where there is some accountability and some scrutiny going on, or is it in private hands and where there is less accountability and it's all about the profits? Now, I did quite a lot of research on homes and everything, and I'm not saying there aren't good homes in private ownership, but private homes in the ownership are there to make a profit. And as we've seen, that if they become vulnerable in that they're not making enough profits because there's not enough funding going in from the LCC or whatever authority, then the business model fails and then they close, and people are then made homeless with very vulnerable disabilities or old age, dementia and the rest of it. And this is, to me, where it's absolutely right that we should protect all property in public ownership where our vulnerable people, elderly and disabilities are homed. Everybody's got a right to have a home with dignity and security. And what really upsets me more than anything is when I see people in homes that have no family support, nobody to speak up for them. They are, you know, and I've seen this, some of these homes I've been looking at, I won't name them, I wouldn't put a dog in them. they are, you know, you see the smell, they're not clean. I've seen what food they're getting. You're lucky if it's a sandwich. And this is going on in places now, right under people's noses. So my big concern is that when I'm hearing the excuse for potential closure on this was because the establishments weren't up to scratch. Well, why haven't they been invested on? Because quite rightly, a lot of this money has come from not just public money, but has been topped up out of families and generally people who've worked all their life for the home and that, and it's taken off them because of the threshold that they have to pay for their own care. So my question is, if it isn't public ownership, why didn't you invest in it? That is not an excuse, not one that we would accept. So that's why I'm obviously fully supporting this motion, and that's why I fully believe that the decision to close homes in public ownership is entirely political and it's profit motivated to put it in the private hands, and that's what I'll say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. Councillor Landless, please.
Madam Mayor, when Councillor Brown, put his first motion in, I was more than happy to fully support it. Mark 2, adding the privatisation matters, I'm not going to necessarily vote against it, but I'm not as easy with it. My point being that I don't think I can support something that just puts a blanket ban on privatisation. I do actually believe that even though it's LCC is now run by Reform or what have you, but the decisions should be taken on each home on its merits, and it could be in the long term that it has to, you know, rather than close it. I certainly don't want to see these homes closed, but rather than actually close it, that the best possible alternative, the money isn't in place, is for it to be offered to the private sector. And that's where I'm struggling. I'm not like a Conservative to sit on the fence, but where I'm coming from. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Landless. I have no more speakers, so Councillor Brown, I can bring you back into sort, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's good to see such a healthy debate and an impassioned debate on all sides. Obviously, a big thanks especially to Mel and Lane, obviously, with their own personal experiences. I know you both either personally or professionally have more experience than I do on this, so your insight is really valuable. I mean, Steve, I understand your position, but I do disagree with pretty much all of it. I mean, the reality is that the politician did say in November on the television that the care homes could almost likely close. Mel is very eloquently saying what that kind of language will do to vulnerable people who need support, care, love, protection. So that's the reality of the way Reform have acted as well. Privatisation, again, is a huge issue. These things should not be in private hands as much as they are. That's the reality of it. I think there's something quite perverse when people are heading towards the end of their life and dementia, where you have people buying up these assets to make profit on the stock market and beyond and extract money out of the community. But also, really importantly, this is a campaign that came from the trade union movement. Many of us, including Lynn and myself, Bill, many others, have been active union officials in our workplaces. This is not action that people take lightly, and it's tough work. The trade unions would not be calling this campaign if there weren't serious issues. The families wouldn't be turning up joining the campaign if they weren't in absolute terror about what might happen in terms of the future of the relatives. So as I said, sometimes you've got to take a stand. And the reality is, as I said, this is a class-based issue as far as I'm concerned. The donors to Reform are often multi-billionaire hedge fund owners and others. And their own agenda is based around further privatisation and outsourcing. Now, in the European Union, we have gone down this route more than any country. We don't need any more of it. We need more public provision that's democratically run and will care for people. So obviously, we have to take a stand. And we're not taking this stand for ideological reasons. We're taking this stand to protect people in Lancashire and protect vulnerable people in Lancashire. And if Reform do reconsider, saying there's not going to be no privatisation, that the daycare centres and the adult care homes will not close and will invest in them in public ownership, brilliant. That would be brilliant. But they've not said that. And this is why this campaign will continue. And we'll stand shoulder to shoulder with trade unions and the families until we have victory and these facilities remain in public hands and remain in public ownership, and none of them are closed or threatened with privatisation or outsourcing. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Can we now vote on this item, please? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you. This motion is carried. Thank you, Councillor Brown. Item 13 is the Leaders' Report. Councillor Brown, do you wish to speak on this report, which is for noting only?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just very briefly, I'm not sure if it's in there or not, but there was a question at full council from Stephen about the tone of debate we're having at the moment. So I'm very pleased that we're going to have the police here before full council, part of an Operation Forward session, because, you know, my anxiety is especially with some of the language we're seeing from Reform LCC, and especially the way some of our female members are feeling about the heightened tension and debate we're seeing in Preston and beyond, that we do need to have that conversation with the police, because I know many elected members are very worried about their own safety and beyond. I mean, canvassing for our female members was not pleasant last May, and the dialogue and the kind of like debates got even more intense, and I'd say even more unpleasant in terms of what's being said and the way it's being said. So I'm pleased we're going to have the police on I think 5th of March before Budget Council, and every member, please do come and take the opportunity to speak to the police if there's any concerns that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Well, we have to vote to note this report. I love that. Can we have a vote to note by show of hands, please? Thank you. Thank you. That's carried. Thank you. Item 14 is special urgency decisions. However, they're none to report at this meeting. Item 15 is date of next meeting, which will be the budget meeting, which will take place on Thursday, 5th of March at 2 p.m. in the Town Hall. Now we need to consider passing the following resolution: that the public be excluded from this meeting during consideration of the following items of business on the grounds that there is likely to be disclosure of exempt information, which is described in the paragraphs of Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972, which is specified against the heading to the item, and that in all the circumstances of the case, the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing it. Are you all happy to agree the exemption and move to Part B? Agreed? Brilliant. Thank you.